Another day, another dollar. Just catching up on some task work tonight. It was a very long day for sure. You gotta watch out too driving in Memphis. Today in Whitehaven on Graceland, I was driving to an appointment, and they're still working on the roads over there. And you pretty much can only go like 25 miles per hour because they're still working over there. And there was a clearance where we start going a little bit faster, but then we stopped again. And what I noticed on the left side of me is a car going super fast. They were going like 50 when everybody else was going like 30. And it was right there on the left side of me, and they just crammed back into the car right on the left of me. And their whole entire front hood came up and everything. And guess what they did? Hit and run. It's only 2 lanes, really tight. They were driving over top of the road to get away from people, through like the place where it's like a bunch of plants at, just to get away from everything. And I saw it all. So you just gotta watch out driving. And it looked like a newer car they were driving too. So like if you just mess up and accidentally just hit in the back of somebody's car, I definitely would stop. But they just tried to keep going and they were able to get away. They were on the sidewalk going like 100. It was crazy. Insane. I was thinking about like filming it and like helping the person out that got hit, but I was like, nah. Let me not even get into any of that. So you just gotta watch out when you're driving for sure. So right now I'm just trying to upload a listing. 2 listings actually. And just go from there. And I would say the most calls you actually get from is online when you have a listing and the sign that you have too. Those are the 2 times when you're going to get the most calls from people when they're inquiring about a property that you have. And I had people asking about my leg. My Achilles is fine. I'm definitely doing a lot better now. My allergies have been super crazy recently too. That's also something too. Working here in Memphis with the real estate. Memphis has lots and lots of history. Like every time I go to a property, there's a long backstory to everything, which is definitely interesting in the work we kind of do too. So again, a lot of what I do during the day, a lot of calling and following up with people. And then at nighttime, I'm pretty much just putting a lot of what I do into like a database. And my thing for going live is like I'm already working late at night. I might as well just go live and just see how it goes. But again, a lot of real estate is easy. It's just doing it over the days, weeks, months, years that makes it hard. The work is easy, but staying consistent definitely is hard. That's why there's so much turnover in real estate. And that's also something too. When you're dealing with closing, you just never know when a property is closing. Of course, you can always estimate it, but some deals you think is going to take the shortest amount of time takes the longest amount of time. Because the most amount of time is being dealt with inspections, terms in the contract, and how people want to move forward. And then after that, the appraiser. So, all without that transaction, there's a lot of things that can happen. Financial contingencies too, that plays a big part too. So it's like there's a bunch of moving parts to the transaction. From finding the property, viewing the property, getting your client financed, or finding a buyer that's already financed, then using an inspector, then using an appraiser, then using a closing company. And through all of that, as an agent, you are responsible for everything. If anything in that call gets messed up, it's on you. Many times in transactions where it's not my fault at all, I'm doing everything that I can do. As a realtor, you just got to take the blame. It's like being the quarterback on a team. You have to be responsible for all the moving parts, even if it messes up. I had a deal recently where the seller owed a bunch in taxes. They were behind in taxes for like 7 years on property taxes. Of course, that's something that I did not know. The seller did not disclose it to me. So when we're deep into the contract, we get that back from the closing company, and then the seller's mad they're not going to be able to net a certain amount. The other side is mad because we have to change some terms. And then the lender is coming at me with a bunch of things. So even when it's not my fault at all, like I said, no one knew they had owed those taxes. But even if the seller owes those taxes, people are still going to blame you for it. So as a realtor, you just got to be responsible for everything. So accountability definitely is a huge part in what we do. Even if it's not your fault, it's your fault. It is. And also, too, even if you have no idea what you're doing, like when it comes to paperwork or when it comes to legal matters, you still are responsible for it. So I realized that too. I wonder how that would be as like just to be like a lender, because you're only like on one side of a transaction. You're not showing them the property. You're not going through closing documents and things like that. You're only just financing the deal. And of course, they still do a lot with that when it comes to getting financed. But the deal itself, they're pretty much just on the finance side. They're not on the multiple aspects of the whole entire deal. Yeah, an inspector. All the inspector does is inspect the property. That's it. I wonder how that would be. South 3rd. And then also too with the listings, you have to come up with a listing description for any kind of property that you post to. Public, realtor, public, realtor. And that's also something too. A lot of Memphis is named after Native American culture. That's where the name Bluff comes from, because the bluff was an advantage point for the Native Americans on the Mississippi River. Because most of the Mid-South itself is pretty flat, and the bluff was a very great access point because it ran along the Mississippi River for transportation, and you can easily defend it because all, I want to say either 4 or 3 sides are up on that hill, so it's very easily that you can defend that side. A lot of streets here in Memphis are named after a Native American. Cherokees. And there actually is a museum too in 38109 near Westwood. It's called the Mound. I can look that up too. Yeah, Orange Mound maybe. But actually, near Westwood, there's a mound museum where the Native Americans habitated. Yep. So that's one listing I just listed. And some of the hardest listings are the listings where there are not much facts on the property. So a lot of it you have to look up and just guess on certain things. I visited this property a couple months ago, and I did write a bunch of notes on it. Just got another offer accepted today. Closed one today. Got an offer accepted. And on both of those, I've been working on for months and months. for most people looking for properties here in Memphis, the best thing you can use is the Shelby County GIS. Just type in Shelby County Deeds GIS, and the deeds map pop up. And you can look up any property and get a bunch of information on the property. Tax info, appraiser info, all that stuff. Because even with all the information that we have, that definitely is a good website to get things from. Very accurate information. A property that I'm selling in Shelby County, you can look at the deeds. This deed goes all the way back to 1851, and it was owned by A.G. Vanderbilt, Alfred Gwynn Vanderbilt, in 1851. That is insane. Crazy. Wow. We'll create a reel about that. I'm telling you, Memphis has some crazy long history. So they owned the property in 1851. And that was around the time that the city was being built. This property is probably 10 miles from downtown, so I definitely could see that. That's crazy. So they owned it in 1851 and then sold it in 1919. And that was like right after he died too. I gotta go to some deep work tonight. We can go ahead and end the live.